Welcome to my main page. Welcome to Will X Magic. So today we're going to be reacting to Spiritedaway analysis, in-depth analysis scene by scene. Spiritedaway was one of the movies, the anime movie trilogies I watched by I think by Ghibli. I'm thinking, yeah, it was by Ghibli, one of the Ghibli Ghibli Studios anime videos, the trilogies that I watched when I was younger. Spiritedaway was one of them. Howl's Moving Castle, Whisper in the Wind, Kiki's Delivery Service. There's some others that I'm forgetting about, but those are the main four that I watched when I was a kid. When I was younger, I was in my teens during that time. So this movie is part of my childhood, and when I watched it, it was a great movie. I loved it from beginning to end. But we're gonna look at it in depth, scene by scene, going scene by scene, and then analyzing the whole scene and picture. So this should be fun, you know. So I hope you like, share, comment, and enjoy this reaction video. And let's get into it.
Wanting wider teeth or having sensitivity protected teeth. Now they don't have to make that decision. New Sensodyne Clinical White gives 2 shades wider teeth, 24/7 sensitivity protection, and it's safe for the enamel. My patients will love it.
So let me keep the introduction to this video as brief as possible. Once upon a time, I wrote an 80,000 word document analysing every scene, pretty much every moment of the film Spiritedaway. After I started this channel, I began slowly converting it into much more refined, less rambling episodes analysing the film bit by bit. So I did one analysing the opening scene, the first about 2 minutes of the film, then one analysing the 2 to 7 minute mark, then the third one was up on my channel for about a day before Studio Ghibli weighed in and started copyright striking a lot of them. So then I tried uploading them all again on DTube, but DTube...
So I was right, it was Studio Ghibli. Alright. I'm gonna do the same for the other 4 Ghibli Studios anime movies I watch. I'm gonna do the analyzing. Analyzing scene depth, analyzing the scene's depth, in-depth scene by scene. So yeah. Alright.
It didn't really work and the videos didn't show up half the time and it caused a lot of trouble, so here's the plan now. I've basically waited for the copyright strike to expire. Now I'm uploading all 3 videos so far into one, this video, plus the extra 4th episode I've made recently. I fully expect Studio Ghibli to be bastards again.
Which is 50 minutes, so this might be a part 1, part 2 to this video. So seeing on how long it is, it's 50 minutes, so I might do a part 1, part 2. It's a possibility. It's 50-50. So we'll see how this goes.
And take this video down, so I advise you to download this video for yourself if you want to keep it. Other than that, like the video if you enjoy it, because I might only get a limited amount of time to see people's response to this, and if you want me to keep going with the series, let me know, you know. That's all I've got to say for now anyway though, so let's begin with the first episode, the first sequence of the film, and the very first shot. Here we go.
Let's get into it.
So it opens with these dreamy piano notes playing, and it fades in from black to show pink flowers and this very childlike card that Chihiro reads out as saying, "I miss you, Chihiro, from your best friend, Lily." Now, opening shots to films are always important, especially with this one zoomed in so close. We are being told that this card, these flowers, are deeply important to Chihiro, and of course they're deeply important. Immediately we can infer that Chihiro has moved house, moved away from wherever her best friend Lily lives, and if any of you ever moved house as a kid, you will know how heartbreaking it can be.
Oh yeah, that's heartbreaking. You know, moving away from someone you've known for 10 plus years, and it's and y'all just did did like some of the more have fun together, but they end up finding out that she had to move away from their best friend. That would be such a heartbreaking loss. You know, I've never like experienced that. You know, well, I did have a friend that I do miss. You know, yeah, I do have a friend that I had. You know, it was like we're like friends. Yeah. We had fun together. We did, we had our moments. We fought and stuff. And, we moved away, but it was, I had friends. I would say that I did have friends who were friends at one point, but now we're not and stuff. And I had friends, so. But I don't know. I don't think I ever had a best friend. I don't know. But yeah, man. It's just spending all those time with I'm just rambling at this point. You probably just got off the videos like he's rambling too much, but but I can see. But I'm just saying I can see how this would be difficult for her. Moving like from someone you like known all your life.
Chihiro may never see her best friend Lily ever again, so of course the opening of this film is an extreme close-up on that card.
Yeah.
Of course Chihiro is reading it out loud for probably the 100th time, that's how important it is to her. But then we hear her dad say, Chihiro, in the sort of tone you say to gently wake someone up, which is symbolically quite fitting. Chihiro is lost in her dreamy thoughts of her best friend, which her dad wakes her up from. He drags her back to the sad reality. And that's exactly what we see visually as well, because these happy pink flowers get wrenched away from the camera. Behind the flowers we see Chihiro's feet up against the various boxes and bags, and then part of the car window behind them. Chihiro, we're almost there, her dad adds, and we realise this is Chihiro still in the car en route to their new home. And we don't get much of a shot outside the window, which is interesting. Only this small, blurry space here. And I think that's because we're seeing from Chihiro's perspective. She's not interested in this new place at all, this new home. She's only interested in Lily, in the flowers, in her old life. That's what's important to her. Dad has said, Chihiro, we're almost there, as though he's expecting her to be excited, but she's not excited. This glum shot of her face here confirms it. And there's some subtle information we can also draw from this frame here. Firstly, there's the fact Chihiro's alone in the back of the car. What should be a seat for a second person is taken up by boxes, stuff, inanimate objects. Chihiro has no travel companion, which cements how very lonely she must be feeling right now.
Yeah, because, when you're moving, you like the person like who you've known all your life to be there with you, moving and like helping like to console you. But she doesn't have that, and now she's in the backseat by herself, lonely and feeling sad and depressed, and she wishes like she had someone to console her and to tell her everything's gonna be all right, and maybe you'll make new friends there, and that's why it's sad, because you're leaving your best friend who you've known for the past 10 years, and you move into a city where it's probably gonna be hard for her to make friends. She's moving to a city where it's going to be hard for her to make friends, and like she got to rebuild that. She got to rebuild that up again, and that's going to be tough. Moving to a new place is going to be tough, and making friends and getting used to everyone. And that's tough. That is tough. Yeah, I moved. I haven't moved a lot. I stayed in the same state. I'm like. For me it was hard to make friends. I mean, I had like people I talked to, but friends, it was hard for me to make friends. And at my age, when I'm 32 years old, it's still hard for me to make friends. So that's probably something I'll never get over. But I can see how depressed and sad she is just being alone in the back seat. It's just like, whew. man, oh man, I'm about like 3 minutes into this video and it's sad already. All right.
Both her parents are in the front of the car, looking forwards, looking out the windscreen, looking towards their new home and their new life before them.
Yeah.
Chihiro, however, is completely on her own in the back, looking up at the ceiling or at the flowers. And I point this out now, there'll be tons of examples that show it throughout the opening of the film, but just pay attention to how ignored Chihiro constantly is by her parents. How little they stop to think what Chihiro must be feeling, or to consider her at all, really. But anyway, Mum says this really is in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to have to go to the next town to shop. And that's an interesting thing for her to say, because it raises the question, didn't you already know, Mum?
Yeah.
You and Dad bought the house, didn't you go to see it already? Why didn't you know beforehand that it's in the middle of nowhere? And the obvious answer to that is that they've moved house in a bit of a hurry. This wasn't a planned decision where, as a family, they've spent a long time looking at new houses, finding the perfect one, any of that. Instead, they've just picked a new home in a hurry without knowing much about the surrounding area, which tells you they were forced to move for some reason or another.
Yeah, maybe, that's what it looks like. They had to they were in a hurry to find a new place. Maybe maybe he was forced out of there, or maybe the house broke down, or no, it can't be none of that. Maybe the landlord they didn't pay the landlord in time, and they had to rush to find a new place. Or their house was being torn down for a store or a shop, which in my case, that has happened to me. Story time. I lived in a house for I don't know how long I lived in that house. It was maybe a year or two. But we had to move from the house because they were building a store. They were looking to tear down a group of houses to build industry or store or something, and we were forced out by the mayor or the person who owned that little house group of houses. He wanted to build a store, so we had to move and find another place. So we did move and stuff, and when we went back down on the road where our house was, our house became an industry for a car place where they sell cars, and it's so it could be that, that maybe that could have happened. They wanted to tear down that house so they can build an industry or a plant or something like that. So yeah, that could be the case.
I mean, let's think about this. The opening shots were all clearly from Chihiro's perspective. We were made to think and feel like she does, aka, why do we have to move home? My parents never listened to me, I never wanted to move home, I wanted to stay in the old house near my friends. Why does my dad have to wrench me away from a life where I was happy? But now the camera shifted so that it isn't from Chihiro's perspective, and we learn maybe Dad didn't want to move. Maybe it wasn't a case of not taking Chihiro's feelings into account. Maybe it was simply they didn't have the choice, they had to move. And then, seeing it that way, Chihiro can sulk as much as she likes, but there's nothing her parents could have done. They had to move. Sometimes life just is hard and unfair, a point that her dad then seems to express as he says, "We'll just have to learn to like it." And it's fitting actually because this comment is then followed by various attempts from both parents to convince themselves and to convince Chihiro that actually it's not so bad here. Dad even points out Chihiro's new school, and Mum
when I first watched this movie, I didn't think about none of that. I just this is a great movie, but now that he explains it, it's that makes sense. Everything that maybe it's the little details he's analyzing that makes it wow. I didn't think about that while watching this movie, and I love the way he's explaining it too. My little thought, You making me think, man. Hey, it's like, and it's sad because like, man, it's just. This is just a good, well explained video so far, and man, it's amazing.
It doesn't look so bad. You know, they're both trying to put a positive spin on things, but Chihiro, in response, sits up, looks out the window for the first time, and just sticks her tongue out at the new school. Ah, Mum, my flowers are dying, Chihiro suddenly exclaims with much more emotion than I just did.
Yeah.
When you consider that those flowers were a present from Lily, that bouquet and the card with it are kind of all she has left of Lily, you realise how wonderfully symbolic that is. The thing that symbolises Lily, the gift she gave me, is dying. And that's bloody sad, but it's also the reality. As Chihiro grows up, the flowers will at some point die, as she will slowly forget about Lily more and more. By the time she's 20, she might have half forgotten Lily altogether.
Yeah.
And that's a horrible fear to have. What?
Oh yeah, like the present that your best friend gave you is dying, and the way he explains it is like, you know, she's gonna forget about Lily as she grows older. Like, she's like 10, but when she's 20, she's gonna start slowly forgetting about her, and like until she like runs into, like, maybe she's like shopping and she runs into her when she's like 26, and then maybe again like when she's like she's married, has a kid, and she runs into her like when she's like 34. Because she at a store when she's getting gas and they run into each other and those memories starts to come back. So yeah, that's life for you, man. And which is like, but what is just so sad, man. This like explanation started to make me feel sad, man. It's getting to me. It's like, man, it's like we all have to grow up, and we may soon forget the people we once talked to. For like, we thought we would never, like, they'll never leave us until they do, and when we grow up, so I'm just like, why did we ever stop talking, or what happened to us? And it's like, oh man, this analysis is starting to hit me in the heart, right here. It's hitting me right here in the heart, and man, it's getting to me.
What if these flowers die? What if I completely forget about Lily altogether?
Yeah.
I'm going to lose this thing that feels so incredibly important to me. And Mum replies to this exclamation of fear from Chihiro without any sympathy or understanding whatsoever. She barely even looks round and just coldly points out, "I told you not to smother them like that." Chihiro then laments, "I finally get a bouquet and it's a goodbye present. That's depressing." And again her parents ignore the emotion behind what she's saying, as Mum just answers, "Daddy bought you a rose for your birthday, don't you remember?" Then she hands Chihiro back a card and says, "Hold on to your card, I'm opening the window. And quit whining, it's fun to move to a new place. It's an adventure." So there's several useful things to draw from that line. Firstly, the idea of having to hold on tight to the card so that it doesn't get blown away in the wind as they drive onto their new life. There's an obvious metaphor there, a metaphor that will crop up throughout the rest of the film with the idea of having to remember your name, remember what your parents look like, all sorts.
Yep.
It's an idea of hold on tight.
Yep, and like watching that video, I didn't know that then, but now that he explains it, yeah, it was like a big plot. It was like one of the big plot points of the movie. Her trying, like, just, I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but that was like that's a big plot point in this movie, and you're probably gonna see why when you watch the movie. But man, yeah, that card is one of. It helps the plot move forward. That's what I'm trying to say.
To the things you care about, otherwise they'll get lost along the road of life.
Yeah.
You know, life is so chaotic, things get in the way constantly, it's so easy to drift apart from the people you care about, to lose contact.
And life is the biggest lesson. Life is the biggest lesson you will ever have to learn from. It can teach you many things, on your road to growing up. It can teach you many things.
To let your life get pulled passively along some track you never wanted. Chihiro will have to do a lot of holding on tight throughout this film. In fact, it's the love and care she does hold on tight to that will keep her safe. that will keep her able to survive and succeed throughout all the dangers she'll face ahead. There's also the comment, it's fun to move to a new place, it's an adventure. And this is where it feels like things start. It's only as her mum says this that Chihiro then properly looks out the window for the first time. It's the first time we actually get a shot of the world outside the car, and it's also the moment the film title comes up. In this sense, the line is half talking to us as an audience, saying, get ready for an adventure.
Yeah.
And we know from what we've seen so far that an adventure is certainly not what Chihiro wants at this moment in time. And I kind of want to keep this video going because really I haven't actually said much at all yet. This opening of the film has all been about the idea of moving home, how lonely and terrifying that feels for a kid. So maybe this analysis feels a little bit light so far. And I think that's not just because I've only been talking about the first 2 minutes, but it's also because all of this stuff we've talked about so far, for any of you that have seen the film, how little of it comes up again. I mean, that opening extreme close-up of the flowers in the card will have you thinking that they're deeply important throughout the course of this entire film.
Yeah.
You'll probably be imagining that Lily keeps getting brought up, that Chihiro will keep talking about her old home, but she never does really. I mean, the card does briefly show up again later on in a moment where Chihiro does have to hold on tight, but you might not notice it on the first viewing. You might completely forget that Chihiro even had a friend called Lily. It might just go straight over your head. None of this opening bit feels particularly significant for the rest of the film. Why? And well, that's because the adventure takes over, and all of these things that feel important to Chihiro, deeply important, naturally get pushed to the back of her mind as she's faced with all these threats and dangers and struggles of other stuff, that she doesn't really have the time to think about Lily or any of these things. And that's true for growing up and coming into the adult world in general. Suddenly, all this stuff that mattered to you as kids, all this stuff that still feels important.
Yeah, all the stuff that was important to you when you were like young and just trying to live, just trying to have fun, they're not important when you're like 20 years old or 30 or 40 or 50. So, like, other things take over, and those childish memories and fun goes right into the back of your head, back of your mind. So, yeah.
Kinda gets pushed to the back of your mind as you face the struggles of earning, trying to survive, and all these other difficulties that come with growing up.
As you're facing the struggle to live.
There is also the point that, alongside this need to hold on tight, there is also the need to move on. Now it is a contradiction, because I guess that's the struggle with life. How much do you hold on to the past, and how much do you let go of it and become somebody entirely new in the future? How much do you hold on to those old friends, and how much do you forge new ones, forge a new life? The fact it is a contradiction shows why it's so hard to manage in our own lives as well, really, because how do you hold on to the past without becoming stuck in that past? And how do you move on without completely leaving everything behind, so much so that the past starts to feel alien to you? That's quite a big, broad question that the film will struggle with throughout, that Chihiro will struggle with until its conclusion. And maybe in that sense, finishing the video here, finishing with us kind of looking out across the horizon at the rest of this film before us, maybe that is a good place to finish.
Man, the explanation so far has been perfect, man. I'm starting to see things that I didn't realize when I was younger watching this movie. Now that I'm like 32, a lot of the stuff that he says hits harder now. And it's crazy. So, and we're just on episode 1. Now we're getting to episode 2. Let's go.
Gaps between them.
Now, unless I want each of these videos to be 5 hours long, I'm not going to have the time, nor will I keep your patience if I prattle on about the possible symbolic meaning behind every image shown in this film. But it is worth the short word on this old tree, with several of its branches dead. The camera pans down and we see that it's left out on its own, set apart from the rest of the woods behind it. If we wanted to, we could infer that means this forest has been cut back. The trees used to go out as far as this one, probably even further, but now they've been chopped down, and the only reason this tree has been spared, I imagine, is because of the Shinto shrine at the foot of it. Nature is being cut back, a theme that comes up in almost all...
A torii. A torii is a traditional Japanese gate, most commonly found at the entrance of or within a Shinto shrine, where it symbolically marks the transition from the mundane to the sacred. Oh wow! So this when you see this thing, it's something sacred. That's something sacred. It's kind of like a door. Like when you stand on like one side, it's just like you're there, but when you enter, it's like a new place, and I wouldn't say it like that. It's kind of, I don't know, but now I know why this thing is sacred to people in Japan. Maybe, well, yeah, it's Japanese. I'm losing my mind right at this point, but yeah, now I know why a Tori is sacred to Japan. It's a symbol for everything that's sacred that they hold dear. It's like this Tori should be respected, and Japanese people want this Tori to be respected. So, wow. So if I ever go to Japan and I see this, I'm gonna pay my respects to it. I'm gonna be respectful around it. Man. I'm learning a lot from this video, man. I'm telling you. I'm learning a lot.
All of Miyazaki's films, and we see that straight away from this image. The broader point I'm leading to by bringing up this tree is about transitions. The last video ended with Chihiro's mum effectively making the point, get ready for an adventure, before the film titles came up. And now, after the film title, what we get is a slow sequence of multiple transitions that ultimately take Chihiro and her family from the world of reality into the world of fantasy, from urban life to nature, from mundane existence into the spirit world. The point is, it takes a long lot of transitions for them to reach it. They have to turn off the beaten track and lead a route through a forest that was once much larger than it currently is. The geography leads them to a place that's far away from the rest of the world, hidden, pretty much unknown, and that's because, like the forest has been cut back, so has our connection to the spiritual. Chihiro and her family don't easily stumble upon such a connection with the spirit world. It takes a long, winding route of many crossing points with many metaphorical changes in the surroundings. So, I guess that's largely what this video will focus on. That will be the spine of what I want to say. We're going to discuss the various transitions Chihiro and her family undergo on her way from here to the spirit world and what it all means. Welcome to my channel, welcome to my little thought tree where we're analysing more of the film Spirited Away. So Dan stops the car here because this transition, this path doesn't feel right. I mean, obviously, they're trying to get to their house in a city. A dirt track leading into a forest isn't likely to be the right direction.
Yeah, because, when you're looking for like a house, you're looking for a road, a highway, a building, and people walking, and street lights, and like yellow, green light, green, yellow, red lights. That means go, stop, slow down. When you're looking, going down a dirt road, it's not the way you're gonna get to your house. That's for like old times when people back in like the 1800s were like walking and riding horses, or like going back to the dark ages when people had to walk from one point to another, and so it's like this is not the. Are we sure we're going in the right direction? So are we really sure? So yeah, that's a good way to explain it.
And he says, "Wait, did I take the wrong turn?
Yeah.
This can't be right." Followed by Mum pointing out, "Look, there's a house, it's that blue one on the end." So at this point they've obviously gone the wrong way and should turn back.
Yeah, they should turn back. But like watching the movie, their dad doesn't turn back. Even though he should, like if you're going the wrong way, you find a place to turn around and go back the other way until you're back on the right track. But for some reason he doesn't, which is dumb and stupid.
And yet despite Dad acknowledging that I must have missed a turn off, he still decides without any logical reasoning that this road should get us there. Chihiro at this point is doing something interesting. She's looking at these little houses on the floor and showing curiosity about them. "What are those stones? They look like little houses," she says. And I'll come to this point about curiosity later, but for now there's something spiritual about the forest. Chihiro clocks that there is something spiritual about this forest. Mum anyway points out that Dad shouldn't try taking the shortcut because he always gets them lost, and he says, trust me, it's gonna work. You know, there's an arrogance to Dad that he just assumes he knows, even when he's clearly wrong. He just assumes this is the right track because that's what he thinks, therefore it's the truth. And Chihiro even points this out, saying, Dad, I think we're lost, which he just shrugs off dismissively. We're fine, I've got four-wheel drive. And personally, I see this whole bit about Dad as something to do with the arrogance of humanity. Here is a dense forest that Chihiro has noticed clearly has a spiritual presence, but Dad sees no issue in blundering in, charging forwards in a heavy car with a I know...
And this part of the movie, that's like, why are you going that fast when you're in like a wooded area? That makes no sense. You just like, you're in a, and you're just speeding to whatever. Knowing that car could crash or could like, you could swerve off the road. It's like, that was dumb. That part of me was dumb and stupid. It just made no sense. Why are you going that fast? Slow down. That made no sense to me.
What's best mentality. I mean, that's human beings, isn't it? Disturb nature because we know what's best. Chop down a tree, trample over a forest. What does it matter? I've got four-wheel drive, therefore it's no problem to me. He's speeding so fast through what is a very thin dirt road that is actually pretty dangerous. It's always surprising how many ignorant people there are in the world that assume they know best and are 100% right about one thing or another, despite the fact they've taken literally no time to consider at all, what if there's a different way of seeing this, or what if I'm wrong? The road is bumpy, they smash through branches, boxes possibly filled with fragile belongings are being shaken about in the back. Chihiro cries out in fear, Mum calls for him to repeatedly slow down, but he doesn't. He's not paying any attention to them because he knows what's best. It's fine. I don't have to consider any other opinions because I know what's best. Until, of course, there is a dead end ahead. One that could have easily crashed the car and Dad's only just about able to brake in time. Before I go any further though, let me drop back.
Well, that's it of part one. This is gonna be a part one, part two. But man, this was a really in-depth video. In-depth and analysis and analysis. And this was an in-depth analyzing of this video. I didn't think about this stuff when I was watching this video when I was younger. Now that I'm watching it now, this movie is like hitting me in places it's hitting me right here the way it never did when I was younger. So this is amazing. I can't wait for what part two has in store for me, and the more in-depth analysis.
That's all, folks.
Of this part two. Man, yeah, man. This is why this movie is a part of my childhood. It means so much to me. It's like just like watching it, like just like look at the analyzing of this video now. Man. Well, that's the end of this video. I hope you like, share, comment, and enjoy this reaction video. And I'll see you next time. Peace.